So are you ready for the Fool's journey? That's the fun part. That's when the Fool, which is the 0 in the deck, decides to leave Source, represented by the Sun, put his back to the Source and walk into the world and just see what happens. He has no plans. He doesn't know where he's going. He just has a positive attitude and lots of faith, and he's just going to go for it. He has to go find himself. He's the seeker of truth. And in the major arcana, he goes through many different lessons and pitfalls, and he learns a lot along the way. So the first person he runs into is the magician. And the magician is teaching him one very important thing, and that is that you can't have what you want unless you know what it is. You have to have clear intentions. You have to know exactly what it is you want. And when you're clear, the energy will flow through you because you have the talents and the skills represented by all the different suits here on the table. You have the talent and the skills to manifest anything that you want. But you have to remember that you can only have it if you know what it is. So you have to be clear about what you want. That's his first lesson. Next, he runs into a high priestess. And the high priestess teaches the Fool to go with his intuition. So he's already following his heart. He's becoming clear about what he wants. And now he has to learn to listen to his intuition. The high priestess is different from the Hierophant in the sense that she is promoting people to walk their own path and seek their own truth. It's not just about believing in traditional beliefs. It's about finding your own truth. And she's only letting him past her veil if he's really dedicated to walking his path. He has to be 100% dedicated, because that is what the path requires. The next person he runs into is the Empress. The Empress is really beautiful. She's connected to nature. She's connected to her sensuality and her sexuality. She's super creative. She's always pregnant with something, an idea, a child, a concept, anything. So creativity is incredibly important. If you want to be free and you want to do your own thing, you have to know what you want, you have to follow your intuition, and you have to be creative in some way or other. And then he runs into the Emperor. The Emperor is a pretty bad mate for the Empress, because the Empress is so loose and natural and happy and beautiful and unpredictable and flowing. And the Emperor is so square, and he's into structure and order, and he provides structure and order because he believes that it benefits the people. So even though people lose their freedom from all his structure and all his rules, he still believes that it's worth it because people feel secure, people feel safe when there's a structure that can flow within. The next one is the Hierophant. And the Hierophant is different from the High Priestess in the sense that he is controlling the minds of the people so that everybody believes in the same stuff. So you can find like-minded people with similar value systems. So he initiates people into a group where everybody believes the same stuff. So you're talking traditional values, traditional beliefs, religion, rather than spirituality. Then he runs into the Lovers. He experiences relationships. And in this card, you see that the lovers have attracted each other because they're perfect for each other. And there's a very deep connection between them. But there's also an angel hanging out up here who are blessing the couple because she knows that relationships are never easy. Even on the path of the Fool, it's never easy to live with somebody. And then there is the Chariot. Well, the Chariot is not so interested in love relationships. He's more interested in expressing and enjoying his ego. So he conquers the world. He controls the situation. He moves forward at full speed, and he is basically unstoppable. And that's part of the journey too. You have to enjoy your ego before you can lose it, right? And then there's the Strength card. The Strength is your inner power, your inner strength. It's a feminine kind of strength. So in the Chariot, you see hard control. In the Strength card, you see soft control. So the message here is that sometimes you can't always plow forward with hard control and lots of ego. You have to sometimes go into your inner strength and draw from that. So this card is all about taming your inner beast, which is what the lion represents. And it also represents courage and heart. So when you get more into who you really are on the inside and find your inner strength, then you have mastered this card. And then we have the Hermit. Hermit is number 9. And 9 has to do with completion of a cycle. And when you complete the cycle and you really have found your path, you become the hermit, because you can only walk the path by yourself. The path can only hold one soul. Even when you have a soulmate or a twin flame or a relationship, your partner can't walk the same path as you do, because that's not his path. So the hermit has to walk his own path and find his own light and shine it on the path and find his own answers and figure out where he's going. And that is a very important part of the journey too. You have to be able to handle aloneness and doing your own thing. And then we have the Wheel of Fortune. Every time a cycle is finished, number 10 comes around, and that's the time where you reevaluate what you've just been through and you start a new thing. So the Wheel of Fortune always represents change. A cycle is finished and a new cycle is beginning. And so the Wheel of Fortune is right in between those two things. Then we have Justice, which is 11. In numerology, 11 is the idealist. And some decks have changed the Justice card to 8, which has to do with power and courts. And I don't like that at all. I like the 11 as the idealistic version of justice. It's about doing what's right. It's about finding your voice. It's about speaking up for what you believe in. So that is a very beautiful card. It's about finding the balance in life. And then we find the Hangman. The Hangman is hanging from a tree because he has come to a place where he can't move forward unless he surrenders. And so he decided to hang from the tree so he can see things from a different perspective. And in the process of hanging there, he's in a state of meditation where you can see on his face that it's changing his life. And he has this expression of satisfaction on his face, and he has a halo around his head. So this is actually a very beautiful card that says that sometimes you have to just stop in order to move forward. And you have to embrace the paradox of your life at that stage. And then we have the Death card. You know, the death in the tarot doesn't necessarily mean physical death. It means transformation, end of something old and the beginning of something new. And it applies to everyone. Nobody can go through life without going through this transition at least once or sometimes more times. And when you start over, after the end of the old and the new is beginning, then you need to have moderation and patience because you're starting from scratch again. So Temperance shows that you need to find the right balance before you can move forward. And sometimes we say, forget about the balance. I'm just going to do what I want to do. And that's when you get into the Devil's cage. The Devil is an interesting card because it's not necessarily a negative card. It teaches through contrast. Sometimes you have to know what you don't want to be able to know what you want. And when you're talking Devil card, you're talking obsession, you're talking addiction, you're talking getting sucked into life in a way that is not really good for you, and you know it's not good for you, but you can't stop yourself. You just have to go through it. You have to experience the contrast before you can be really clear about what you want. And the next card is the Tower, which comes in and saves you from the devil's den by destroying everything you think you have, by destroying everything that's fake and everything that's built on a flimsy foundation, everything that no longer benefits you. It all has to go. So the Tower could mean divorce, disease, disaster. It's not really a welcome card in a reading, even though it does have a purpose, because when you start from scratch and you rebuild your life on a better foundation, you will find that you no longer have to go through the dark to find the light. You no longer have to have outside guidance to figure out where you're going. Now you can go straight to the light, and you can find hope and guidance there. And then there's the Moon card. The Moon reminds us that life, reality as we know it, is so much bigger than what we think it is. There's so many things we don't know. And the Moon is encouraging us to just feel it and open up to not knowing and to embrace not knowing. Because you have to embrace not knowing if you want to move on. And when you embrace not knowing, you can go beyond duality and you can become enlightened, which is what the Sun card is about. It's about joy, expansion, enlightenment, becoming radiant like the sun. But before the cycle is completely over, you have to forgive everyone in your life that's hurt you. You have to forgive yourself for all the mistakes that you've made, and you have to make peace with the past. And once you're done with all of that, the last part of the cycle is the World card. You have to go back and share your process with the world. Share what you've learned. Share all the gifts that you have found on the way. And that is the journey of the Fool from the perspective of the major arcana.